and welcome to this week's edition of Ventures. On the program today, we are going to be bringing you the concluding part of the interview we had with the Director General of the Nigeria Agribusiness Group, Dr. Manzo Maigari. I implore you to stay with us as we bring you the second part. Don't go anywhere. So can loans and grants improve agriculture in any developing?
Very well.
And can you give us an example of countries that have come out of food dependency based on these kind of loans and grants?
Loans and grants are different. Grants can't get a country out of its quagmire. Most of the time, it just sinks you further deep into the mess. Because look, people have to exert themselves, and people have to know that it is success that they are looking out for when they are exerting themselves, and that success is going to be a derivative of that sweat that they put in. If you bring money and give people free, you end up making them lazier. So for me, I'm not an advocate of grants. Yes, grants can come to support. For example, some of this soft infrastructure, some of this supporting infrastructure that I've talked about. But the reality of it is that when you give people dole outs, you make them lazy. For example, okay, look, we can look at possibilities. If farms need to have global gap compliance, we can support the audit, the farm audits. We can support all kinds of, we can provide them support services on up to the second year or third year when we expect that they should have stabilized. But the most important thing is the moment you have done that and you provide them things like market linkages, access to premium markets and all that, you leave them alone. Just support them, cluster them, create platforms that enable them to have global visibility, if that's the level you are looking at, or national visibility, regional or continental visibility. Once they have that visibility, then you leave them to go it by themselves. And that's why you find out that what NABG does is that it works with the stakeholders association, such as Maize Association, Rice Association, cocoa, and the rest of them. And all we do is that we work together, we get resources, and we support them with capacity building, strengthen governance within this association so that can trickle down to the cooperatives. Once this is done, they get structured and begin to see themselves as businesses and run as businesses, then you just take the grant out and let them take loans. When they take loans and they know that they have to pay these loans, then they will work hard. But when people get money from the beginning and they know that this money is money that they don't have to pay, I can bet you very few people, very few, extremely few will be committed.
Okay, so should we talk about post-COVID? What did COVID do damage to any policies? Did it create any gaps? What did COVID do in 2020? And is there anything post-COVID? Or should we say now, through the COVID, because it's not like we are post-COVID, so how do we deal with this? How did it affect the agribusiness, and what do we do about it?
There's no doubt that COVID disrupted agriculture and agribusiness like any other industry. We need to understand and accept the fact that growth, the most exponential growth that has been recorded through human history, has always been during disruptions. I'm going to tell you also that during the COVID, the early days of the COVID, we were virtually like policemen, running all over the place. And the reason is what? When the restrictions on movement were met, farmers had their produce in transit. Some people had produce stored in temporary locations. And because of the restriction of movement, they couldn't get these products to their destinations. The rains came, some of the farmers lost their products there because the moment the products were beaten by rain, they got spoiled. Some of them lost whatever they were transporting. So we had to get back, liaise with the government to start giving tax to transporters of foods, and to open up a few markets and all that and all that. I remember a case where about 35 vehicles carrying day-old chicks from Ibadan to eastern Nigeria were intercepted in one of the states along the way. And I tell you, they were there for more than 16 hours. It took the effort of NABG with professional associations like the NVMA, that's the Nigerian Veterinary Medical Association, to get to the Commissioner of Agriculture in that state, as well as the Commissioner of Police, to release those day-old chicks. But they had spent like 16 hours there. Any professional knows that that was already a loss. There's no way those chicks were going to achieve their potential, having gone through that stress for that long. So, but these are the issues. Now, but what are we looking at? What are the gains? The gains of COVID is that most young people today that had played in agriculture have moved a step further. They are and embraced controlled production. And when I talk about controlled production, I'm talking about greenhouse productions, where you can have, let's say, for example, in tomatoes. Let me just use tomatoes for as an example. Our production here is between 7 and 10 metric tons, sometimes hardly even up to that, per hectare in open field production. But with greenhouse, you can get 30 metric tons of equivalent per hectare. So that's why you find out that, especially in southern Nigeria today, that really opened the eyes of many people, and they have gone into control production in order to close the gaps between the supplies for the north, which sometimes when this kind of disruptions happen, they don't get down to the south. We also know that there are states in the south today where ranching has become a big deal. The biggest ranch in Nigeria today is in the south. The second biggest is also in the south. So these are some of the gains that I can tell you we have met.
We did a training on empowering women through ginger value change, and the essence is for women to get to know what to use ginger to do. You can use ginger to bring out spices. You can use ginger to make ginger juice. You can use ginger to make ginger oil.
Today, we are proud among the other local government to be among the ginger producing local government. In fact, to me in particular, AgroLoc has come to stay in my mind because AgroLoc give us adequate and proper education regarding farming, especially the ginger. We attended so many seminars and training, both theory and practical.
We notice a lot of experiences that we can farm ginger by ridges and harvest it with the machineries and clean it, and there will be a machine that will slice it, and that make me to see that there's a change and improvement in the farming of ginger by implementing those machineries.
We have seen the benefit of their helping because they gave us what to use in order to yield what we plant, that is the ginger. Though we have been farming the ginger, but they have put in more elbow to our farms. Now we are seeing our farms greenish. The farms are looking fine, and we hope by the end of the year we shall yield more than before as we used to harvest.
It have helped me to produce more and the ginger of what I'm producing compared to that of before. I used to get about 30 bags per hectare in the olden days. But now I'm expecting to get about 100 or 50 bags.
In fact, when the program first come, people, when we are doing the sensitization, they were saying, this is how they usually deceive us. Some of them, when the program start properly and they know that people start benefiting, they starting running. The EW also play a very vital role by going to the farm and take measurement of the farm and register the farmers, and they'll cross-check before issue anything to them. And so far so good, we have registered up to 52,000 farmers.
How can an average Nigerian key into the money-making aspect of farming, that is animal husbandry or value addition or other real incentives that would say this is a money-making venture? This is why the program ventures is that's what it's about. We want to know the gains. Where do you begin to make real money out of the business?
Well, I'm going to say this. First, the reason why agriculture, despite its potential, has not attracted enough resources is because most investors see agribusiness in Nigeria as a black hole. And why is it so? It is so because we've not been able to qualify risk in agricultural ventures. This is the major reason why the banks will not give you money. Nobody wants to throw money into a black hole. Now, what must we do? We must de-risk the sector. And how do we do that? Because it's only when we have de-risked the sector that insurance will come in and then funds will flow. The Nigeria Agribusiness Group is at the forefront of an initiative to set up commodities exchange. Yes. We have the Nigerian Commodities Exchange. It is fully a government entity, but our experience from 1703, when the first commodity exchange was established in Japan, shows us that there is no commodity exchange set up by government that has been successful. And therefore, we are looking at the possibility of a private sector-driven, full private sector-driven commodity exchange. You may ask me, is it that we do not need government in a commodity exchange? No, we do. Okay. But it has to be a kind of a tripartite arrangement, more like a PPP, where you have the private sector providing funds and tech and business direction. You have the government providing legislature and supporting frameworks for the commodity exchange to function. And then you have the development sector providing funds for backward integration. For example, if a commodity exchange is in place, the standards are going to be set. Now, if you look at the agricultural landscape, it's dominated by smallholder farmers who are largely illiterate or ignorant. You have to train them and develop their capacity to produce based on those standards. Government does not have the money to do that. Okay. No businessman will put money in that. So you are going to look, and that's where we come back to the issue of grants. Okay. It is the development sector that you are going to look at. They are going to support you to train these farmers and develop their capacity so that they produce based on the qualities that are required to trade in the exchange. Now, having said this, we don't have the exchange yet. Now, what and where can people key in? I will advise that people focus on aggregation. Aggregation and value addition. If people can structure business models around outgrower schemes, contract farming, that is where the whole thing is. Now, what do? If you can have resources, you give farmers, the smallholder farmers, quality inputs and they pay you back with products at harvest. You aggregate, and then you add value. That's the real point where money is. For smart young Nigerians who want to go into agriculture, this is the thing. I'm just going to say this. Imagine that you have 500 farmers growing rice for you on 1 hectare. And I'm going to tell you the economics of production for rice today hovers around 220 to 250,000 naira per hectare. That's what you pay a farmer to produce rice. And then you provide him agronomic practices, you provide him all that. It's all built in there. Good extension service. You make sure that the quality of planting material meets the requirement. You make sure the fertilizer that he is using meets the quality. And then from what I know of contract farming in rice is each farmer per that hectare will pay you with about 4 metric tons of rice. And he still makes his own difference. Now imagine that you collect 4 metric tons of rice from 500 hectares. You are talking about how much? 2,000 metric tons. And if you process that, you are going to get 63% of real rice. That we call it paddy now. If you collect 2,000 metric tons of paddy, you are going to make 63% of rice out of it, and I think 11% broken. Yeah. Then the rice brand is there, you sell it for animal feed. Within 6 months, you have a chance of doubling that money, if not more. Imagine that you are going to go into ginger, and that's where that's where we play. Yeah, we play in ginger. And look, it's a huge opportunity out there. Imagine that you are going to go into Irish potatoes, and then you will aggregate these Irish potatoes and process them, add value, maybe just ordinary chips or fingers, potato fingers. Imagine the amount of money you are going to make. So while the production can be attractive to others, it's a lot more technical. And it's a bit difficult for somebody to just jump in, yes, and get it right. So work with farmers who understand it. Work with agri extension officers who understand it, and let them add value to these farmers and enhance their production. And then you take what you take from them. It's a loan recovery. They have their profit. If they want to sell to you, good. If they don't want, let them sell in the open market. And then you just process and get money.
Okay, so let me just ask you one last question. There's no doubt that Nigeria can be food sufficient. Right. Then again, there might be some sectors or some groups that are gaining more, that Nigeria is not food sufficient. Is there such a thing as this food espionage? There are those who want us to remain dependent so that they continue to profit.
Well, the world system is not fair. Nigeria on its own has not bothered to assert its dominance. Because if Nigeria has been deliberate in its action, especially as far as food is concerned, Nigeria should be the one supplying at least 50% of the food in Africa. So it's not exactly criminal for somebody to want to push you out of a market share. No, it's competition. But what must we do to be competitive? I think that's the question we should be asking. So we have to just work hard, leverage on what we have. Look, as far as Africa is concerned, Nigeria is the country to beat when it comes to food production. I was in Cape Town for 4 months, and I found out that I couldn't get water in the hotel in the afternoons. So I complained, and everybody was looking at me as if I came from another planet. They have water shortage. They don't even have groundwater. Here we are with a lot of surface fresh water all over the place. What are we doing with it? Here we are with over 81 million hectares of land, of which only 30% is being utilized. But efficient utilization is just 10%. What can we not achieve when it comes to food dominance? What can we not achieve when it comes to food sufficiency? So seriously, I think that we just need to look again very well, and take our eyes from the oil, which is losing value by the day, and key into agriculture, because see, a market of 200 million people, it's a market to beat. Everybody will want to come to that market. But unfortunately, we are not even seeing that market, let alone the 1.2 billion people in the whole of the continent. Today, it is cheaper for you to send something to Europe than send it to just Cameroon that is at your backyard. So, yeah.
Calls are cheaper to Europe
Yeah.
and America.
So, Africa is remotely connected. We have to open up Africa and connect directly so that we can play. It doesn't take anything for Nigeria to invest in infrastructure that enables it to connect Africa. So that we can play.
It has been a very interesting conversation and a long drawn one too. Thank you very much. I called you doctor, you said no, you're Manzo Daniel Maigari, so I'm dropping the doctor now. Thank you very much for coming to Ventures. Thank you for enlightening us on all the aspects of agribusiness and the potentials therein. And we hope that going forward, some of the points you have raised will actually manifest and move the sector forward. That's the size of our show this week. We've been speaking to the Director General, Nigeria Agribusiness Group, Manzo Maigari, and that is the last in the two-part series of the interview we had with him. Thank you for staying with us. We'll do this again, same time next week. Stay blessed.